to another episode of Cooking, Real Estate, and Crime. See, Today I have a special guest with me, and she comes all the way from Austin. Hey,
Hello.
Whitney.
Hi.
You want to introduce yourself and tell people
Sure.
who you are?
Sure. So I am Whitney St. Andre. I am a real estate agent in the Austin and greater Austin area. I don't just focus in downtown. I'm kind of all over the place down here.
Originally from Wichita Falls.
I also co-host a true crime podcast. So this is and I also love food. So this is like the sweet spot. You know, you give me some food, you talk about crime and real estate, and it's like everything in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. Did you hear that?
Uh-uh.
Okay. I need to go turn off my phone or something. I don't even know where I put it. I left it in the office.
Oh no.
Okay. So what I usually do is I have a food service that sends me a box every week.
Mm-hmm.
On Monday, they send me a new box with 3 meals already, all the ingredients already in the box. And every week it's a little bit different. So you can choose which menu you want. There's a family menu, there's a veggie menu, and then there's the regular menu. And then you can also choose each meal every week if you want, or you can just let them send you their pick.
Okay. So it could be a surprise box.
It could be. I mean, there's an app, so they do give you a warning on what they're sending you. And if you don't like it, you can change it as long as you meet their deadline. You have to tell them, I think it's like by Saturday or something like that, if you want to change your options. And so I think I've got 2 left. And I think it's sweet chili chicken and snow pea stir fry or apricot sriracha pork chops. I am thinking that I want the apricot sriracha pork chops.
They do sound delicious.
Yeah. And they give you all the ingredients, and it comes in this little box. And so all you need to do is just sort out the ingredients that you want that call for your recipe. And I put my little recipe right here.
Oh, that's a good spot to keep them because I would lose them.
Yeah. Yeah, so then I just need my pork chops, chicken breast. I don't have pork chops. Boneless chicken breast or ground pork. Every once in a while, they'll send me the wrong thing.
Uh-oh.
Oh, wait a second. I already had this one, so I already cooked this one. Whoops. Let's see. I know I have not done the sweet chili. Oh, dinner style chicken and gravy. Nah, that's boring. Let's do the sweet chili chicken and snow pea stir fry.
Okay.
And gives me all of my ingredients on one side, and then it gives me the directions. It's usually like 6 or 8 steps or whatever, and it's super easy. I mean, just about any dodo can cook. And I know that there's a lot of other companies out there that you can choose from. There's what's that company called? Blue Apron.
Oh, there's Blue Apron. I think like Home Chef is one. The biggest one I think everyone knows is HelloFresh. At least in the true crime podcast world, HelloFresh sponsors everybody.
Oh, okay. Well, they're not sponsoring me on any of this stuff. This is just me.
Me either.
Hopefully they don't get mad at me for doing it. Maybe I'm like
won't.
telling some weird trade secrets or something because I didn't even ask permission.
I'm sure it's fine.
Let's see. All right. So we need the sweet. And of course, the labels are in black and the sauce is black.
Of course it is.
Sweet
so it's going to make it really difficult.
I don't think this is it. Cornstarch. One of these is going to be cornstarch. That's cornstarch. And sweet Thai chili sauce. I can't imagine that this is not. It says sweet soy glaze. Snow peas. Ponzu sauce. 3. Okay, here's the sweet side. Another ponzu sauce. And the rice and the ginger. It's only 7 things. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All done.
Awesome.
I don't have this down to a science just yet, but we'll get there.
Yeah. It takes practice.
Yeah.
And this shows like you're real. This is real life. This is what it's like when you're cooking. It's not just magically there ready for you.
Yeah. But the thing that I like about it is that I can actually just never go shopping again.
There you go.
I think I've gone shopping since my daughter went to college 4 times.
Oh, wow.
And she's been gone all year.
Wow.
All I go to Walmart is for toilet paper, soap, and the things that I can't.
Girl, you got to Amazon that.
I know.
Get that Amazon subscribe and save where it's just auto shipped to you. You don't even have to think about it. That's my favorite.
I've thought about that too. I've thought about that, just ordering it online altogether. But every once in a while, it's kind of nice to be around people,
Of course.
So,
are you using your potato peeler for your ginger?
Yeah, you got to peel the ginger.
I've never thought to use my potato peeler.
Really?
I always use a spoon and just scrape it off. Mm-hmm. I saw it on a fancy cooking show once. So.
Oh, well, that might work too. But see, it just comes right off.
That's smart. I don't know why I've never thought of doing that.
All right, so that's my ginger. And it gives me directions. Now we just look at the directions. Usually it tells you to do the rice first. Mm-hmm. But it wants me to put the garlic. So I need to do the garlic. But okay, so this week we're doing
Florida.
Mm-hmm. And Whitney's got a couple of crimes to talk about. Oh, you know what? I didn't look up the real estate, how to get a real estate license in Florida.
I got it.
Oh, you do?
Yep.
Go for it.
So the steps to become a real estate agent in Florida are very similar to what they are in Texas. So it's something we are kind of already familiar with. You have to be at least 18 years old. You have to have a United States Social Security number, and you must have at least a high school diploma or GED as your prerequisites.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we have that in Texas.
We don't have the high school requirement. We do have the 18 and Social Security number, but that's just bare basic employment information. Huh. You do have to complete 63 hours of pre-licensure courses. So
just
not 63? That many. Just 63.
Wow.
And it's the bare basics. So it's foundations of the real estate business, real estate regulations and statutes, agency relationships, how to remain compliant with state and federal laws, real property laws, and financing options and mortgages. And that's it. 6 classes.
It doesn't feel like that's enough to be able to really, I know everybody complains about our classes here in the state of Texas because it's 180, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
180 hours to get your license, and then another 90 hours after you get your license in order to keep it that first year.
Correct.
So, I get a lot of the newbie agents that are just like, oh my gosh, this class is so redundant. And it is redundant. Once you get past a certain point, you just start talking about the same shit all over again. So a lot of those classes are just a repetition of what you took in real estate 1 and 2.
Yep.
Or contract. Mm-hmm. So they could make it a little bit simpler in Texas, I feel like. But
I do too. Or I wish they made the classes a little more user friendly, if that's the correct terms, because like you take the contracts class And they basically just give you a contract and tell you to read the paragraphs on it and understand all of the legalese behind it. But they don't ever teach you how to write a contract, or, what you absolutely have to have bare minimum in a contract for it to be a successful contract. And I think that's where there needs to be some improvements. And it is overkill on the contracts without being useful.
I mean, they start talking about stuff that's not really even related to real estate.
Correct.
Like tenancy in common and tenancy, by entirety and all that stuff that usually the title company takes care of. We don't even deal with any of that stuff. I mean, it's good to understand it, but it's not.
But almost like as a history course
later on. Yeah, you can learn that later on.
It would be a great elective later.
Yeah. One of the things that I've noticed too is, and I know that a lot of it falls on the broker. You're not going to be able to teach somebody how to be a salesperson. But in the classes, more than just showing them how to write a contract, I think that they need to have some sort of sales pitch to them. Like, this is what you're going to have to do. This is how you're going to have to go and knock on doors. You're going to have to hit the pavement. You're going to have to call the for sale by owners, call the expired listings, send out mail outs. This is how much it's going to cost for you to get your real estate license. And they don't show any of that stuff.
That's a big one. People don't realize how expensive it is to be in real estate. Everyone thinks that it's easy money, and it is far from easy money. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of your own ambition to get you anywhere.
If you're not dedicated right off the bat, you're not going to really get too far. There's a reason why they say that 85% of real estate people that take the real estate license exam don't really sell real estate. Because it isn't as easy as it seems. It takes more than just being able to pass a test. It takes some sales experience, or at least the ability to be a salesperson, talk to people, listen to what they want, and not convey your own wishes on them.
Correct. The interacting with people is probably the hardest part of our job, is learning how to listen, to take that information, digest it, and put it back to them in a way that makes sense. So, some people say, I demand a 5-bedroom house with a minimum of 5,000 square feet. Now, okay, is that a want or a need? Like having those difficult conversations of, well, unless you build your dream home,
or
you're not going to get this.
Yeah, exactly. Do we even have those kinds of houses in our market?
Exactly. And, being able to relate how the market is to clients is difficult as well, because, look at the world we're living in right now, where the market is basically on fire.
Fluid. It's so fluid.
Yes. Some days you can't keep a house on the market for more than an hour. The next day it's like, why is this one taking 2 weeks to sell? You have there's no control. It's just a giant roller coaster all the time. And you have to be willing to handle that.
You got to be able to handle it too. And you got to be, I think that you also have to, as far as like financially is concerned, you have to be able to, because it's feast or famine. This.
100%.
It's feast or famine. 1 month you're going to have 5 closings, and the next month you might only have 1. So all of that money that you make that first month, you need to keep that in your bank to be able to handle a month or 2 without any sales.
I also think something that we could learn more, with us having to have 180 hours, another beneficial class would be taxes. No one explains that you are an independent contractor and no one takes taxes out of your money. Right. You have to be able to hold on to that and pay Uncle Sam at the end of the year. If not, you get a bill and you're like, why do I have to pay $30,000 to the government when I had a really good real estate year? Because you didn't hold any back. That's why you have to pay Uncle Sam, because you spent all of it again. So
you didn't diversify, because that's one thing that I did when I first got into real estate, is I actually diversified a little bit and got a few rental properties, because my background is in accounting. So I kind of already knew all that information. But
and you as a broker that's a great resource to have, because there's a lot of brokers out there that just kind of throw you to the wolves and say, figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I try to talk to my agents about a lot of that stuff. Usually we'll do a little bit of role playing too as well, so that we can kind of learn how to sell property. Because I get so many people that are like, okay, well, once I show the house, then what do I do? Like, to me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Sit down, talk about it, and decide
Yes.
which one you like, which ones are not liked.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, these are certain things that we take for granted as real estate agents because we've been doing it for so long. I don't know that anybody ever taught me any of that stuff either.
I don't think they did either. And it's definitely not in the classwork of how to, what do you do after you show a house? Well, do you ask them, do you like it? What don't you like? What do we need to change? How do we change our parameters of what you're looking for? You said you wanted this, but now you've seen it. Now you don't want it. So how do we
I have to
evolve?
modify. Right. That's one thing that you really have to be able to do as a real estate agent, is showing to owner occupants, is be able to read the situation, because you know how it is. You get the husband wants a 2-car garage and the wife wants a kitchen, or vice versa, or whatever. I'm not trying to be stereotypical, but the husband really wants a big, huge bedroom. That's important to him. The wife could care less about the bedroom, but she wants to make sure that her bathroom has 2 sinks. You know, so there's so many things that are involved in selling a home, and you have to be able to kind of, I mean, I've gotten to the point that I can show them like 1 or 2 houses, and then now I know exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah. But that comes with time. As a new agent with just minimal education at this point, you don't know what questions to ask at the end of the day. Do I ask, was this kitchen satisfactory? Okay, that bathroom didn't have 2 sinks, so we know for sure you want 2 sinks. Okay, great. We have that. Let's change the list. Kind of situation.
I think that real estate agents also get a bad name because they kind of put us in the same category as car salesmen.
Yes.
You know, where car salesmen, they have this car and they're like, oh, you really want this car. You really want this car. This car really wants you.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And you're going to leave here today with this car.
What can I do to get you in this car? That's not how it's like with real estate. We can't just force our will or our wants or our likes and dislikes on the client. We have to let them tell us what they want. And a lot of real estate agents have the problem figuring that out.
Also, something I just noticed not in their coursework is ethics. There is no class on ethics here.
Because TAR is now, well, not NAR is requiring it on their end. Every year or every 2 years, you have to take ethics. Apart from your normal. They changed that rule a little bit in the last couple of years on the federal level, to where federally you have to go to their website and do their class on the website. And it's usually like a time thing. They give you like a couple of time slots.
Okay.
One of the things that a lot of newbie real estate agents are missing out on is the classroom setting. Did you take any of your classes for real estate in the classroom?
I did all of mine online.
I did all of mine except for my broker's license in the classroom.
Okay. And that's different.
This was back then when they were still offering, this is in when I got here, it was in 2009. I started taking the classes in 2009 and got my license in 2010. And back then, Alan King, who just passed away, by the way, Alan King and Bonnie Fieldson were teaching the class at Vernon.
Okay.
So I took all of my classes with Beth Ann Oswald.
Oh, love it.
At Bishop's. We both actually got our real estate license at the same time.
Awesome. Yeah, I did all of mine through continuing education courses through the university, through MSU.
Yeah.
And it's just at your own pace.
I got to sit there with, it is with you at your own pace. I got to sit there with Alan King and Bonnie Fieldson and ask them questions, kind of pick their brain and hear the stories. So you miss out on all of that when you're taking it online. Unfortunately, I mean, that's just the way it is now. There's no way around it anymore. But I really wish that they made classes again.
I also think that they shifted more to that model because you don't start real estate as your only career. It is really hard to jump in with both feet and expect to make a salary your first year.
That's
Even
why I
if
didn't do it full
Mhm,
time when I first got into real estate. I did it part time,
mhm,
and I actually did it part time for almost 5 years. I should have quit sooner because I
mhm,
was already getting very successful at it, but I was afraid of not having insurance
mhm.
for my kids
Yes,
and
that's
having
a
that
bit
steady paycheck.
absolutely. And it's hard to take that leap of faith and it doesn't matter how confident you are in yourself. This isn't
Right.
about your confidence, it's about making sure that your clients have confidence in you to help them find what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
so
you also have to have I don't want to say it's hunger, but you
a
have to be
drive.
willing, huh?
It's a drive. You have to be
Yeah,
have to have a
you have
drive.
to be, yeah, and you have to be willing to take on some of those crappy jobs.
Yes. When
I
you are
think the
low man on the
second,
totem pole,
yeah,
you're going to
you
get
got
the lower $30,000, $40,000 houses, the
exactly. You can't let
rentals.
those go away. You got
Mhm.
to do everything that comes your way because you never know what's going to pay
Mhm.
in the long
And
run.
and a good agent treats those with lower budgets the same as those with higher budgets.
Right, exactly. I when I first started doing real estate, I think it was like my second transaction was a short sale.
Mhm. Oh no. I hate that they call them that because they're
Horrible.
anything but.
Oh, no, yeah, that doesn't have anything to do. It doesn't have anything to do with the time. It has to do
Mhm.
with selling it short, kind of like a stock. When you're
Uh-huh.
selling it for less than what you paid for.
I know
That's
it's just
where that
so
comes from. But
yeah, it's just
yeah,
so misleading.
it is misleading. So, how long is this short sale going to take? Oh, about 6 months.
Yeah, we don't know.
If that, if you're lucky, it'll
If
take
you're
six
lucky.
months. And I think
Uh,
that's what it wound up taking is like 6 months. And eventually we just kind of gave it away. We were able to get it. It was a house in Iowa Park too. It was a really weird
oh,
house.
what are
Really
you
weird
stirring up there?
transaction. This is the cornstarch, chili sauce, and ponzu sauce. And I'm
Oh,
guessing that this is going to go in the chicken afterwards.
okay.
So I just threw those three things in the bowl.
Okay.
And then now I'm going to chop up my ginger. So even the recipes are super simple. You know, like 7 things is all it takes to make this meal.
And what's amazing about these dinner kits is it's always something that I never would think to make on my own. And like the sauces are so rich and flavorful. And you're like, I have all these things at home. I could totally make this. But when I make it, I wouldn't do that. It would be like just baked chicken and macaroni and cheese, because you just don't like me personally. I don't have the brain capacity to want to think about what I'm cooking at that point,
Yeah.
at the end of the
Well, I
day.
don't know. I'm half Puerto Rican, so we have a little bit more diversity when it comes to our menus and stuff like that. But you get into a rut after a while and
Hmm.
start making the same shit, beans, rice, and steak.
Yep.
How many times can you eat beans, rice, and steak? So having these meals actually kind of entertains me because now I'm going to be like, let me see what this is going to taste like.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
it's a little bit. All right, so now I'm going to do the chicken, and it just says to put salt and pepper in it. And then once it's completely cooked, then you put this cornstarch. Oh, I wasn't supposed to put that much cornstarch in it. Oh, well. I've got more cornstarch.
See, you live and you learn.
Yeah. I start getting ahead of myself and just kind of thinking that I know how to do it better than anybody else.
Love it.
All right. Well, what crime were you able to find in Florida? I mean, I imagine that Florida is like
There's a long list
rampant.
here. Now, outside of those classes for Florida, you do have to take a final exam. We forgot to finish the requirements, but before I click off this list, you have to finish the final exam with a 70 or higher. That's the same for almost every state.
Yeah.
You do have to submit your fingerprints and, of course, complete your license application through the Florida Real Estate Commission. And then you have to, of course, pass the Florida salesperson license exam after that. Roughly
Does
2 to
it
5
say
months is what they're saying.
really? Does
Mhm.
it say anything about if you can be a criminal and get your real estate license?
I did actually pull that up. It is possible to get a Florida real estate license with a criminal background, but it's not one of those
Felony or
like
just misdemeanor?
exactly. It's not one of those like easy yes or no questions. It's like, well, it kind of depends on what it was, when it was, what the conviction was, did you plea out, those types of things. Felony is a no. You cannot have a real estate license with a felony.
Texas is
Misdemeanors.
the same. You can have a misdemeanor in Texas and no felony. However, California, you can have a felony.
Interesting. I did not know that about California.
Yep, we learned that.
Okay.
Yeah, just and they didn't even specify that it couldn't be for fraud or anything like that. Like Texas, you can have a misdemeanor, but it can't be for fraud or stealing or anything like that.
Yes. No larceny
Because
or
you're in a
robbery.
position of trust. Yeah.
Because you're a fiduciary, I think it could only be something like maybe a DUI or I guess those are felonies now, aren't they? DUIs.
I don't know.
I can't remember.
A misdemeanor would probably be something drug related.
So, okay.
But yeah, okay, go ahead.
I found a crime, and this one's a imposter tried to sell a Florida that he did Florida. He tried to sell a Florida, the whole state. He tried to sell the whole thing. Yeah.
He listed it on LoopNet.
Yep. There you go. He tried to sell a home that he did not own. And this actually ended up making their real estate agent to be fired after an investigation occurred. So there's a little bit of.
So the real estate agent got in trouble for the listing? Well, I guess that makes sense.
So, I mean, I would consider
it to look it up in the tax appraisal or something and see that it wasn't.
Well, he did ask the person saying, hey, he invited, basically story here. He invited a real estate agent to a house and he said, I want to sell my home. Real estate agent said, okay, are you Mr. Joe Smith that owns this house? And he said, yes, I am. Didn't verify anything. Didn't look at a license. ID. Didn't check any sort of documents. And he said, okay, let's get it listed. Was able to get it listed. And actually, this home was like a vacation home. So it sat empty quite a bit. There were caretakers that came and checked on the house. And the caretakers found a lockbox on the front of the house. And they were like, why is there a lockbox here? And why is there a sign in the yard? They called the owners and said, are you selling this home? And they said, absolutely not. Why would you ask us that? And they said, because there's a sign in the yard and a lockbox on the door. And they said, okay. So they pull up video footage and see this unidentified man and woman walking through the house.
Oh my goodness. And the real estate agent wound up losing her license or getting in going to jail?
She didn't go to jail. She was just fired from her brokerage. And I'm sure it's because she didn't make the proper steps to verify that was indeed their home.
Wow.
So that was an interesting one.
And
I mean,
the ponzu sauce says to put some sugar in it.
Okay.
I use brown sugar. I don't ever really cook with white sugar.
Oh, I bet that makes it a more rich flavor.
I don't know if I bet you it does change the flavor of it a little bit. And then it says to put some water in it to water it down.
Okay. So you thicken it up with the cornstarch, then you water it down with the water.
Well, it's going to cook.
Okay.
And the corn, but you start it off with just the cornstarch so that the paste or whatever gets mixed in really well. Then you add water to it because it needs to be a little bit more liquidy. And then you're going to put it in the chicken and the cornstarch is going to cook in.
Okay.
Kind of like putting flour on things. It thickens the sauce.
Yes. So the homeowner in this situation said that they understood that the real estate agent was targeted by a cyber criminal and that, yes, she was also a victim, essentially. However, she should have done more to confirm the identity.
mean, that's a good point because we don't usually ask for ID until we get to closing, and then they take their ID at closing.
So that is
to
something.
do the notary.
And that's something that I do on my own. And it's more of a safety situation for myself because of what I cover in my podcast. I mean, there's countless incidents where a real estate agent has been injured, murdered, kidnapped.
Well, yeah, we've covered.
There's a long list. Yeah, there's a long list of things that have, because you're meeting strangers. You are meeting strangers on a regular basis. So you're at risk. Well, there's various ways you can go about protecting yourself, whether like in Texas, most people carry guns or mace or something to protect themselves. We have excellent app assistance with our lock boxes nowadays where you can, if you don't check in at a certain amount of time, it alerts the authorities. So there are new tools available that weren't always out there. But I take a photo of whoever I'm with, if I do not know them personally. If this is someone has called my sign and has called my sign and wants to see the house, I take a photo of their ID. So at the very least, it is in my iCloud.
Right.
If something were to happen to me that day. Now I delete it later if I don't need it. Or if I'm not meeting them again. I will delete it later that evening, but it's more of a protection thing on my end. And I learned that from another brokerage in another state when we covered a case of a real estate agent. So maybe it should be common practice.
Taking it off of here. I think it should be because, I mean, that's what I covered on, whether it was last week or the week before, is the crime stats for agents is about 75 deaths a year in the United States. And the majority of the issues are from stranger danger. Now going to an open house, doing an open house, and just random strangers coming into the house.
And they say that, at an open house, you know, it's not that big of a deal because you have people sign in, because, you know, usually you have people sign in and leave their email because sometimes there's giveaways or you're just trying to keep in contact with them to grow your real estate business, because clearly chances are they're looking for a house to buy, and chances are they don't have a real estate agent if they're at a open house.
Right. Or
so you're trying that. I mean, that's the goal, right? Is to get more buyers for your clients.
Yeah.
So but how easy is it for someone to write another name, fake an email? Like, that's nothing.
Well, there was one case that I read about. There was one case that I talked about last couple of months ago. You know, the second or third episode was a lady that she was doing an open house, and this guy came through the house and was a little hinky. She felt like he was a little hinky. So the next day when he came, she refused to show him the house, and she was already on her way out. So basically he had scoped her out beforehand. He had gone to the open house the day before, and then the second day he comes right at the end of the open house trying to get her to go and show the house again. And she wouldn't let him in because she was already walking out the door. She had already locked it and everything. And the video camera was right there by the door and videotaped him like pushing her, groping her, and like physically attacking her. And I was like, Jesus, if she had let him in, OMG. But she'd already gotten a bad feeling about him. So she was, you know, smart enough to listen to her own little small voice in her head.
Yeah. Good for her.
But yeah, that happens quite a bit. And it's from what I'm seeing in the research that I'm doing, it happens more in suburban and metropolitan areas.
Yes.
Not so much in the rural areas. Not saying that it doesn't happen, but I feel like here in Wichita Falls, we're a little bit safer.
Absolutely. And in these bigger areas, like think down here in Austin where there's hundreds of millions of people, it feels like.
You need to be careful. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's
you need to be more vigilant.
Yes.
Do you carry a gun?
I do.
See, that's one of the things that I just can't get myself to do. I'm not a big fan of guns. I never grew up with guns. I don't feel comfortable around guns. I feel like if I'm going to have a gun in my house, it's more chances of me getting hurt than somebody else.
Sure. I grew up around them.
So,
I grew up in the country. I mean, in a
yeah,
very small town of 5,000 people. And I only carry for personal protection. I don't open
right.
carry. I don't carry it unless I'm meeting someone I don't know. It's not
One of my
a
agents carries she wears boots all the time. And
mhm.
so she keeps a knife in her boot.
That I used to carry only a stun gun, and
I think you should carry a gun because you're in the bigger city.
mhm.
You're in the chances are that you're going to be more at risk.
And I used to carry a stun gun, but the problem with that is you have to remember to keep it charged. If it what good does it do you if you've not kept it charged?
Yeah. Yeah. And that with
Whereas
all the things that we need to
mhm,
keep charged in our life.
I yes, I'm already out of outlets as is. So
Right. Just
it,
one more thing to forget. I
mhm,
can't even remember to charge my watch, much less a stun gun.
mhm. Another tip, I don't know what you tell your agents, but something I do, I ask the person I'm showing to stay outside until I turn all lights on and unlock all doors so I know all of my exits before they enter the house.
That's a good point. I don't usually tell that to the agents, but I can. I mean,
I
that's a
don't know
pretty
if
good
it's a
point.
safety tip that I like to keep handy in the back of my mind just
I always
because
let them
you
go
never know.
first. That was what I
Mhm,
learned whenever we were doing real estate or
mhm.
we were being taught was that you let your clients go first. You always
Sure.
walk in the back. You don't want to walk in front of them because you never know, they might attack you from behind.
Mhm.
And then what do?
And I
But if
do the
you're
same.
behind them,
Mhm. I do the same, but I go open the house and then I step out of the house, hold the door open for them and say, here you go. I would like you to have first impression. I don't want you to see the back of my head that's not the first thing you want to see when you walk into a house. So
right.
that's just kind of like my run-in joke when we walk in is go ahead, I'm not the prettiest thing in this house, so go ahead, kind of a thing.
Aw. But all right. So it looks like everything is almost done. I just need to let that stir fry water boil out a little bit and then fluff up my rice. It says fluff with a fork and put a teaspoon of butter in it, a tablespoon of butter.
Mm.
And this jasmine rice, I mean, I'm a fan of rice. I love rice. I'm Puerto Rican. You can't not love rice and be Puerto Rican. So
I love rice too, but I'm low carb right now, so
what?
I'm missing it.
But
Yeah.
what does that have to do with rice?
Rice has lots of carbs in it.
I just I don't think I could live without rice.
It's really hard. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's really hard. Like rice and potatoes is my like comfort food. We have this stuff called super rice in my house, and it's basically a can of cream of mushroom soup and a can of like you put the soup in a pan and then you fill up the can with water, put that in the pan, and then put the equal parts rice in there, and it just makes a cream of mushroom flavored rice. And that's my all-time comfort food. Anytime I was sick growing up or didn't feel well or had a bad day, like that's what my mom made me, and it's nothing special. I mean, that's like the most basic meal you could ever think of. And you can like
Right. Like mac
make
and
it
cheese.
bigger. Yeah, you can like put ground beef in with it or whatever, but that's always been my comfort food. So you take away carbs and there goes my whole life.
Well, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of diets, but I haven't really had a weight issue, so I can't really. Well, I don't want to say that. When I was younger, I did have a weight issue, but as I got older,
Hmm.
for some reason, I got an autoimmune disorder, and it just took it all away.
Well,
Not saying that you should get
yay
an
for
autoimmune
yeah.
disorder,
I'd rather not go that route. I'll give up rice for a little bit. I'm not
right?
trying to be on a diet. I'm trying to change my lifestyle a little bit, and
I get
um,
it. But
That's the
eventually you're going
easiest
to
way to
want those
start.
carbs back. And that's the bad thing, is that people will
And
go
I'll bring
back to
them
those
back.
carbs and then
I'm not going no carbs because that's too much for me. That's too much of a commitment. So I'm doing low carb, and I'm trying to do it in small amounts. So I'll have, a more carby meal. I'll have the rice once a week, or the potato, like mashed potatoes or something once a week. But I'm just trying to not only eat carbs, because everything has to have a piece of bread or, something starchy.
Olive Garden is your favorite place to go.
One of anywhere, or like Texas Roadhouse. I don't
Roadhouse.
even need the
Oh my gosh.
meal.
Thank God they have them down there in Austin. Otherwise, what would you eat?
There's so much good food down here. There's like the best tacos you'll ever eat in your life on every corner down here. I've yet to find bad food. And it's like
that's
authentic
the one thing that
tacos.
was disappointing about coming to Wichita Falls.
Because you have
the fact that
Tex-Mex.
Mexican food is just not to my standards.
Yes. Down here, everything is so delicious. So delicious. You can't beat it.
I've been thinking about making the move to Austin. I just don't know.
Come on down. Everyone else is moving down here.
I know, right? I keep texting Elon that he needs to create a factory up in Wichita Falls, or somewhere up north.
Yeah. Well,
so that all of that will start to trickle down.
Yeah, but all of his money is in Austin right now. I'm pretty sure he's going to own Austin by the end of next year. He just keeps buying up land and keeps buying up land.
I thought that I heard somewhere that he already has like 100 million acres or something like that.
So where they put the Gigafactory is only 10 minutes from my house. We are actually in a zero energy capable neighborhood. So all the Tesla employees are like flocking into our neighborhood because we're all solar, all geothermal kind of a neighborhood. We have like community gardens. It's very California in my neighborhood without being California.
Right.
And
do you know one thing that I found out about California is that my sister has solar panels on her house, and she lives in California. She lives in Northern California, towards Santa Barbara, Ventura.
Okay.
In Ventura County. And she said that they charge her for the energy that she doesn't use.
Wow. So they charge her instead of buying it.
Correct. They don't buy the energy, her excess energy. They charge her otherwise it just gets lost. They won't pay for it. You can if you want to.
Are there too many people like creating energy?
I don't know that that's even possible. Is it?
I wouldn't think so. But Texas,
they charge you to store your excess energy.
Because here in Texas, ERCOT and Encore will pay you for your solar.
I know. I was like, in Texas, we're giving people free money if they have solar power.
And
so how do you like
on
the
this
solar
last
power?
year? Oh, we love it. And based on this last year, clearly ERCOT's not reliable.
It's needed. Yeah.
So
but that's
we
one
love
thing
it.
that I found odd about California. So I love my Texas.
We love it here in this neighborhood. Something real estate related is we aren't in your traditional MUD. We're in a PID. We're in a planned improvement district. So that's something that's a little bit different than most neighborhoods. And how
does that affect your payments? Does that mean that your utilities are on a different grid?
Correct.
Basically?
Correct. And because we are a fully solar neighborhood and we are contributing back, if something were to happen like this past year where the great freeze out was and we all lost power, we were all on rolling blackouts, they kept this neighborhood on because we were creating energy for other people to use. Yeah. So the difference is that you have to pay up front. So like other people with their MUDs, that's all included in their escrow or whatever. Our PID, we have to pay each year. So it's a little bit different. It doesn't roll into your escrow. It's a little bit more complicated than that. I had to do a lot of research on it when I first fell in love with this neighborhood because it's not something that's common, especially in Wichita Falls. I don't think there's a single
We don't even have a MUD here. I think maybe Freeburg area is about as muddy as we get.
Yeah, that's about as muddy as you get. So it's a little bit different with that. And also something that's different here that you don't deal with Wichita Falls often is almost every neighborhood has an HOA.
Yes.
And it's not, I had to do a lot of research on learning and education on that because it's not something I was used to writing into contracts or checking on.
So what did you learn about that HOA addendum? Because most of my agents don't even know what it is. I've only done it a couple of times because I've sold properties in Dallas, but
sure. The best things that I could learn from the HOA addendum is don't be afraid to call the HOA and ask the questions, because you'll get the paperwork and you'll go through it. Most agents attach the HOA rules and regulations with the listing down here so that you can be aware of what you're getting into before you buy the house. But it doesn't hurt to call and ask because every single one is different. When we were building this house, we were renting in another neighborhood, and it was a much more lax HOA than where we are here. Not that we have a strict HOA, but it's a higher level of
responsibility.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for. So
it's probably kind of like the Providence Village where you can't even change the color of your door or anything like that. Or like the historical district here in Wichita Falls.
Yes, it's a lot like that. You have to get a lot of permissions before you can do anything, especially architecture. I mean, down to what plants, because they don't want invasive species of plants, because we have community gardens and we have, they don't want plants that bring in invasive species of insects. So if we have, a specific plant that really loves those murder hornets or whatever, they don't want it here.
Wow. Okay.
So it's an interesting dynamic to go from such a small and what I would consider relatively lax in city. Like, I mean, overall Wichita Falls is fairly lax with everything that you do. I mean, even inside,
because a lot of people complain about so much here.
Yes.
They don't realize how good we have it.
Yeah, how much easier it is.
Right.
So it's interesting to see the difference and having to learn all the new things for a big city.
All right. So basically, I'm already done with my little meal here. I'm going to plate it real quick so that I can show people what it looks like. But it's pretty basic. It's just chicken and rice. And it smells delicious. You got a little bit of garlic, a little bit of ginger. Nothing that you probably, it's literally like 7 ingredients. The only thing that was a little bit different was salt and pepper. But you can add that. And I have high blood pressure, so you don't usually
eat a lot of salt.
Nah, not too much. What I usually like to do is I've got Slap Your Mama.
Okay. That's a good one.
Put that in there a little bit.
I like Tony I always say it wrong. Chatries. It's a Cajun spice.
Oh,
it's a lot like Slap Your Mama.
Yeah. And then since it's just me by myself, this one meal will last me like 3 meals sometimes, depending on how good it is. But
that looks delicious.
Very basic. And all in all, the price is for these 3 meals, it's $42.
Okay. But you can get 6 to 9 meals out of it. Really not bad.
And they do have different levels. You can do 2, servings for 2 is the lowest you can do. But you can do all the way up to servings for 6. Or servings for, I think it's servings for 6. And then you can do 4 meals a week, 3 meals a week, or 5 meals a week.
Awesome.
I think 5 meals a week for the most people, 4 people or something like that was only like $100 a week.
That's still cheaper than what you're going to spend in groceries.
And I was eating out all the time.
So it's so healthy too, because you're going to get all of your food groups. All of them have a veggie, all of them have a protein.
Yep.
And it's way better than McDonald's.
Not only am I saving money, but I'm saving my own brain power because I don't have to figure out what I'm doing for lunch or dinner or whatever. It's already pre-planned for me.
And you save time because you don't have to go to the store to get the stuff.
Save time because you're not going to the store. Save time having to think about it. And then you're saving your guts because I kid you not, my guts just love not eating out all the time. I'm actually not having any gastrointestinal issues now.
That's great.
So, there's so many pluses for it. But anyway, so did we have another crime, or was that?
I have another one if you want to, or we can be done. Well, I said I did, and then I clicked off of it.
Well, we're already at what? An hour?
Mm-hmm. I think it's a little under because we started, I hit record early on. So maybe 50-ish minutes because we were chit-chatting before. So we don't have to go into that other one. I think it was going to be more complicated anyway.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you guys for joining me, and thank you, Whitney, for joining me. Did you want to tell everybody about your podcast that you're doing?
Sure. So my podcast is titled Cults, Crimes, and Cabernet. My best friend,
y'all. I've listened to all nonstop, like just downloaded every single one of them.
Oh, thank you.
Listened to it nonstop for about 2 weeks until I got caught up.
Thank you. I really appreciate the support. We cover a new case every week. We just go state by state, covering everything from cults to murder to kidnapping, a little bit of everything, while we drink wine.
Persons. While you guys get nice and toasty.
Yeah, it's just a conversation between two best friends. It's kind of like we do it in a very, I don't want to say layman's way, but we talk about it how everyone can understand the case. And it's not a lot of legalese. It's not a lot of, stiff comments. There's one episode where I couldn't get over the fact that BTK liked to wear his mother's panties. Like there's some funny props.
Casual.
It's very casual.
So it's a very casual conversation, kind of similar to what we're doing. And even with the strategic moves with Lou, it's just very casual. I talk to the people that in our area that are experts in real estate or loan officers or title companies and stuff like that, and we just sit around and talk. But your show deals with a lot of the random crimes that we don't really hear about, the ones that aren't like in the news all the time, that we don't, that aren't super publicized.
Yes, we try to bring light and bring awareness to those cases that aren't quite getting the attention they deserve or they warrant. We saw it recently.
Unsolved too. I heard a few of them that were unsolved that you guys actually wound up helping get solved.
We did shed some light on a couple of things, and we see it most recently with the Gabby Petito case. The louder you are, the more is done, and they were able to find 9 bodies of missing people looking for one person. And we are just trying to be that loud voice to help them continue to solve these things and find these missing people and whatever we can to help.
Isn't it crazy how many bodies are probably laying around? And it's just depressing. I don't know. So to some extent, I don't begrudge you your job. You get to see some really crazy stuff.
It is. And once a quarter, my best friend and I, we go to these locations where people have gone missing or have been murdered, and we are there where it happens, and you feel what the atmosphere is different in these places because something terrible has happened, and just whatever.
Do you feel like that's because of the actual act itself, or maybe it's a psychological, like you psych yourself out a little bit?
I'm sure it's a combination of both. I'm not a big crystal person. I'm not big into auras and what the environment is telling me. I don't understand any of that. That's not what the kind of person that I am. But knowing that something so terrible can happen in these places where most of the time there's hundreds of people or there's people all around, and how did no one see something, or how did, I always have questions of how did something so terrible happen right here where I'm standing
and nobody noticed
and nobody said anything. So that's what gets me the most. So I'm sure it's more the psychological, me psyching myself up in that situation. But when you stand there and you see hundreds of cars drive by on the side of the road where someone disappeared after calling 911, like Brandon Lawson, how did he disappear? There's nothing out here. Like there's some mesquite trees and that's it.
That one was interesting. Like he was actually on the phone with his brother, right? And then all of a sudden the phone call dropped and he's gone.
because there's not a lot of cell service, and it's on a straightaway. You can see you both ways. Like, how did he just disappear? And not a shred of evidence has been found. Not a piece of a t-shirt, not a shoelace, not his phone, not a body, nothing has been found. Not
And
a
didn't the
single
police
piece of
also go
evidence.
trying to look for him, but they went the wrong way or something?
Well, there was some confusion with where his location was. They thought he was more north than he actually was. But regardless, there's been several foot searches. We're actually going to participate in one in January with the family members as well to try to find something on all these. I mean, it's hundreds of acres of property out there that it's wilderness. It's just a lot of hogs, there's not a lot of houses out there, but it's not so far off of a highway that they could easily get lost. His vehicle was on the side of a highway.
Yeah, and you don't really realize how difficult it is to find a body in even 5 acres of land versus hundreds of acres of land. I mean, that's just like, I don't know how many times we've heard about people being missing for years and knowing, like this guy, knowing exactly where his last position was, and you still can't find him. Meanwhile, his body is probably there. It was probably there the night of, but it can't be found.
And you'd think with technological advancements, you'd be able to find anything. Like, they used heat penetrating radar to see if there was any instances of where a body may have sat under a tree for a little bit and the ground warmed up where he was sitting, or anything like that.
Have cadaver dogs do searches and stuff?
Yep. Can't find anything. So it's just interesting. And I mean, you can relate it back to real estate the same way. Like, you do a home inspection, they cover that entire house top to bottom. And then the week after your clients move in, there was a leak in a pipe that they didn't see. Well, that's just part of it. They looked there, but this is just kind of part of it. You can kind of relate it back to real estate in that manner.
At some point, somebody's going to have to do some sort of like history of this house. You know, like there's some of these older homes that have such an interesting history. Like even here in Wichita Falls, some of our historical homes. Like somebody needs to do a show showing all the different historical homes, especially, well, I mean, I don't say especially, but the ones that have like murders and stuff like that, or something happened in that home. That's something that seems pretty interesting, that, you know, like the haunted house type of phenomena.
Yeah. If these old walls could talk, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Isn't there a show that's similar to that? I can't think of the name right now.
I think it was something along that same name, or that was just a phrase they used a lot. I know that there was like this old house, but that's when that Bob guy redoes the houses, like renovates the houses. This old house, I think, is what that's called. But I don't know,
because that's what I'm finding that's interesting about the houses that I get is repos. Like, I want to know what happened here. Like the house is trashed. They abused this poor house.
There's so many houses out there that are terrible. I did a video walkthrough on one, and I couldn't even make it past the living room because there was adult diapers left inside, used right in the front door.
I got one on you. I just listed a property over on Jones Street, and there's a cage sitting in the corner of the house that has a dead possum in it.
Oh no!
A mummified possum.
Oh gosh. Ugh.
And it's in a cage, so I don't know.
So they caught it and then let it die.
Yeah, so it got caught somehow, and it just died. Probably. I mean, I just can't even imagine what happened in this house. It was horrible.
That's a whole nother show you could start, is the worst real estate stories you could come up with. Like, what is the worst experience you've had in real estate?
I could probably do that now because foreclosures are going to get started back up. So I feel like it's going to be a shit show.
Oh, it is.
It's going to be a shit show. I need to get one of those body cams or something. So whenever I walk into a house,
it's
all on video.
Just carry that like GoPro with you. Oh, I can't imagine. Repos are going to be bad coming up real quick.
I mean, I already had that one on Jones Street. So, I mean, I can't even imagine. And I've got 2 more that I just got assigned today. So the flood is coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to be a matter of how bad it gets.
Yes, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad.
And Bill Crouch and Kirk Harmon, they've got their own horror stories too. So
I
was
bet.
thinking about calling them up and seeing if they wanted to collaborate on something. It might be kind of fun.
Oh, that'd be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, well, I appreciate you coming and joining me, Whitney.
Anytime. Thank you for having me.
I will have to do this again because this was a lot of fun and it doesn't take very long. And I don't have anything else to do with my time now that my kids are all grown.
Yeah, anytime you need someone on, call me up. I'm happy to sit and watch you make all of my carbs.
Well, I won't eat them in front of you just because that would be completely rude. But but there's got to be something that you can do that's like,
we'll
figure out your portions.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
The amount of carbs that you eat. That way you can still enjoy the carbs and not ruin your, because eventually you're going to start eating the carbs again, and all that weight or all of that good, healthy gastro stuff that you've been working on is going to go to waste.
I'm just trying to make it where carbs aren't my only focus. So if I do away with them for a little while and then slowly reintroduce them is my plan, in the right portions, because I'm hoping I won't crave them as much. And what did they say? It's 21 days. So if you do it for 21 days, it becomes a habit. So for 21 days, I just focus on as little of it as I can. Then we'll be good.
That's what I need to do with the gym. I need to just make a habit of going to the gym for 21 days. Then it would be a habit, and I won't, because I'll go to the gym for like 3 weeks and then I get bored.
Yeah, you got to change it up. Keep it fresh.
Well, Whitney, thank you for joining me, and
You're welcome.
I will talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye, guys.